Hi guys, how you doing? Right, this is a very quick video. I'm just going to go over some of the basic points to consider in the stiff leg deadlift. So if you're getting lower back pain, okay, which is quite common with deadlifts, but even more so with stiff leg deadlifts usually, and this is maybe worth a wee watch. Okay, so when you're considering a stiff leg deadlift, obviously the main things to remember is your posture. Upper body posture has to be set properly. So you're going to make sure you set your scapula properly. So shoulders back and down is a useful cue to do that. If you gently pinch your shoulder blades together, that should help set those, okay? And the objective will be to maintain that sort of pinched sort of position as you bring the bar over, okay? So the other thing you need to remember to do as you perform the hip hinge or the stiff leg deadlift is to engage your core muscles, okay? The glutes as well, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to sort of specifically focus on the core because I think that's the one thing that people are struggling to do. So quite a simple, useful cue to remember, okay? Shoulders back and down, right? Chest up, squeeze the mid back. Pretend someone is about to punch you in the stomach, okay? Or you're trying to anticipate a punch. And if you're going to anticipate a punch, you're going to tense your stomach muscles a wee bit, so you're going to engage your core, okay? So that's what you should be doing at the start and throughout the movement of a stiff leg deadlift, especially on the way down. Bear in mind though that as soon as you do that, people tend to tense and round at the shoulders. So your job is to maintain the shoulders back and down pin position while still engaging your core. So pretending someone's about to punch you in the stomach. So do both, okay? The challenge is to do both. Okay, so as you come over slowly. And to initiate the movement, all you need to do is start pushing the hips back, okay? Just start pushing the hips back, pull the bar into your quads, and that will help engage the lats or vice versa, okay? And tense your core, so keep thinking about the whole concept. Someone's trying to punch you in the stomach, someone's trying to punch you in the stomach, right? And you're just letting the bar slide down your legs, okay? Which should remain in contact with your legs. Just come to there initially, don't come too far. Feel the movement, you should feel your hamstrings being stretched. That's essentially what a stiff leg deadlift is. It's a stretch under load. Then just come back up slowly. And I'm saying slowly because I'm assuming you're someone with back pain who's struggling with it. So one thing to do when you're struggling with pain is to slow it down so that you can have more time to concentrate on the movement. So very slowly, keep thinking, stomach, someone's trying to punch me in the stomach, so I'm trying to engage my core, engage the core, keep thinking about it. Try not to neglect the upper back muscles, keep them engaged, keep the lats engaged, and then come up slowly as well, okay? The next thing is to reduce the range of movement. So if you're struggling, a lot of the time folk, or what they're doing is this, they're trying to go down too low and they're rounding really badly, okay? And they're going too low for what their own mobility will allow. So you only go low if you can maintain good form. So in other words, if you're struggling, just reduce the range of movement. Just come down a wee bit, just come to about there, just to get used to what you're trying to do. So break it down, okay? So the first thing you're trying to do is engage your core as you push the hips back. Just come to there. Do you feel the core muscles working? Can you feel your hamstring stretch? Do you feel your lower back? If you feel your lower back, you're still doing something wrong. Just stand back up and try again. Okay, so slowly go down, keep the mid back muscles engaged, and just come down, even if it's just to there, okay? Go as far as your body will allow you to do without experiencing back pain. Tense your core, really concentrate on it, and it should help. The more you do it, the easier it will become, okay, if you get it right. Then the next thing you would then consider is your glutes, okay? So you can come down a bit further if you want, but just go to knee. I would say just go to knee, you don't need to go any further than that. Now, tense the core, and on the way up, start clenching your bum, and when you stand up, make sure your glutes are tensed, okay? That will also help engage your core as well. But sometimes I think if you're doing all three things at once, shoulders back and down, glutes and core, you might end up forgetting certain aspects of it, and it gets a bit much. So just break it down slightly. So reduce the range of motion if you're struggling with back pain. And concentrate, keep the pinned shoulders, but then imagine someone's trying to punch you in the stomach, okay? Remember as well with a stiff leg deadlift, it doesn't mean your knees need to be locked out. They don't have to be locked out because again, in terms of mobility, everyone's different. If you lock your knees out, suddenly you'll find it very difficult to come down here without rounding here. But it's amazing by just simply tweaking it a wee bit, by bending the knees a wee bit, shoulders back and down, people can maintain better form. So I would say for anyone that's struggling with lower back pain, keeping the knees locked out or legs completely straight is not worthwhile, or it's going to make it harder. That's not to say don't lock your knees out, okay? There's a bit of a sort of misconception that you should never lock your knees out in an exercise, which is not true. If you've got hypermobility, it's true. It's dangerous, but if you've not got hypermobility, then there's nothing wrong with locking your knees out. We walk about with knees locked out. You can't jump or run without locking your knees out if you're wanting to maximise power. So that's a bit of a silly fallacy that is going around, partly based on that video of the poor young girl leg pressing and she ends up snapping her knees back. That doesn't happen normally unless you've got hypermobility. So you don't need to worry about that. But at the same time, as I say, don't lock your knees out if you're struggling with this movement. Just reduce the range of movement a wee bit by bending your knees. So soft knees, okay? So these are the things to consider. Soft knees, okay? Shoulders back and down. Just pretend you're trying to punch in the stomach. And the thing is, the first thing you want to do is eradicate back pain. There's no point in doing the movement if it's causing you pain. So that's why you need to break it down. And you can continue to break it down as much as you need to, and then as you get better at it, then you can build it back up again. So then you can start thinking about increasing the range of movement, straightening the knees further, okay, adding more weight to the bar, these kind of things. But putting more weight in the bar and try to go full range of movement with straight legs is the end game. That's the end game. That shouldn't be the start point. That's what you do once you've mastered the basic movement, okay? And if you're getting back pain, then you've not mastered the basic movement. So these are the things to consider, okay, guys? So hopefully that helps. So just think, I know that was a straight bar, but the same rule applies to a trap bar. Considering the movement, reduce the range of movement, engage the core. So always think you need to engage the core throughout the movement. And I know that's hard to do, especially while you're still trying to think about keeping your shoulders back down, because try to think about doing one more thing. Then more than one thing at once can be a bit confusing, especially if you're new to it, and that's where the other core exercises like the plank come in handy. Okay, so that's another thing to consider when we're asking you to do the plank. We're asking you to do those two things: shoulders back and down, chest out, but at the same time squeeze your bum. Okay, squeeze your bum and core. And again, usually folks struggle to associate the two, so you ask someone to bring their shoulder blades back and down, and they push their hips back like that, so they disengage the core. And then equally, you ask someone to engage the core and squeeze their glutes, they end up rounding like that. Okay, so the objective is to do both, shoulders back and down, while maintaining a neutral spine by engaging your glutes and core. So that's actually just a wee extra point there to consider, that anyone that's doing planks, that you should be doing that when you're doing planks. You should be bringing your shoulder blades back down, pushing your chest out, while squeezing your glutes and engaging your core muscles. If you're not doing both of those, you're not doing it correctly. Which will make it easier, so you'll be able to hold a plank for longer, which isn't really the purpose of a plank in the first place. The purpose of a plank in the first place should be to work your core, not to see how long you can hold it. So just remember that these things like switching off the shoulders, rounding the back, they make the movement easier, okay? They make it more efficient, but not as effective and more likely to then cause back pain. Okay, so that's something to consider. That's why a lot of folk make the mistake of chasing the weight instead of mastering the movement first. Okay, so just break it down. So hopefully this helps. If not, let me know and I'll maybe try and make another one. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Break it